Welcome to our booth here at the Texas Council for Social Studies. My name is Jason. I'm with Social Studies School Service, and I'm going to be sharing with you guys a few of the different options we have for Texas history. I think you guys are going to be excited to see all of the wonderful resources that we have. So let's dive in. The first one here we have is Active Classroom. Active Classroom is a platform with thousands of great social studies activities and lessons for students to interact with online. It's printable. There are a lot of different ways that you can use Active Classroom. And I wanted to start off by showing you an example of a curriculum map that we've built for Texas history. This comes along with your purchase of Active Classroom for Texas history. And you will see that it has the TEKS outlined here at the beginning of each unit. And this one here, we're looking at exploration and early colonization. Down below, you will see the activities listed out. We have week 4. And then it gives us day by day, days 1 and 2 here, day 2, day 3, 4, and 5. Notice it gives you the specific TEK that's being addressed in that activity, as well as teaching notes to help you if you are new to Texas history, or if you just wanted to find some different resources to use. Maybe you've been using a lot of things over the years and you wanted to refresh your class and start off with something a little bit different and new. So each one of these units for the entire year is going to be built out for you. It's already done, and it's included again with the purchase of your license. All of your students have access when you purchase the teacher license, and you can see just the nice way that it's laid out for you day by day. And it allows you to just find activities that are directly linked to your 7th grade TEKS. So I thought I would show you a little bit more of the program and what we have to offer here. I did a filter. As I mentioned at the beginning, there are thousands of activities in Active Classroom, but we have about 140 activities that were specifically written for Texas history. Now, I know as Texas history teachers, you guys pull in a lot of resources from U.S. history as well, and you will still have access to a ton of great U.S. history resources that tie to Texas, but I wanted to show you the 140 different activities that we have written specifically to the TEKS. So right here, you can start off with some decision-making activities as well as some interactive mapping activities. And I thought rather than just kind of scrolling through the list here, I did want to show you the 7 pages of activities at 20 activities a page. I thought I would show you guys some examples of what the lessons look like. So I've opened a couple of different activities here, and this first one is going to be about Santa Ana. I really like these decision-making activities because it's a different way to engage your students, to get them actively participating in the class. So what they do is they put the students in the shoes of somebody in Texas history. In this one, they are going to be Sam Houston, and they're going to be having to make a very important decision that we know Sam Houston had to make, what to do with Santa Ana. And so you see here below, it sets the context so that the students only have the context that maybe that person had at the time. We don't want to tell them the actual outcome until a little bit later. So it walks them through and gives them a little overview of the Texas Revolution. And then down here at the bottom, you notice the students have 4 decisions that they can make. And so those are very similar to the decisions that Sam Houston had. He had a few different options of how to handle Santa Ana at the conclusion of the Battle of San Jacinto. And so it gives the kids 4 different choices to make. And once they've made their choice, they then have to justify. They have to explain their reasons down here below. So this is just a way, and notice it does tell them to be prepared for a classroom discussion. So it's just a great way to really get the kids involved in the actual activity and lesson itself. You notice this lesson does conclude with primary source activity, and this is a letter from Santa Ana. And so the students will analyze this letter as well and answer some basic questions that kind of push that higher order thinking and getting students to really, think, was this a reliable document? How is this a reliable document as a source? So really teaching kids how to analyze and attack primary source documents. There is a wealth of information in the teacher's guide that has great things like the actual outcomes of what happened with Sam Houston and his decision. So the kids can then weigh their decisions versus how Sam Houston handled that situation and kind of weigh in and say, well, maybe my idea would have been better, or maybe Sam Houston's way was better. And it just gives them a lot of great context in a way that's not so boring and flat as just reading a textbook. The next one here I'm going to hop into is this one here on railroads in the West. These are interactive mapping activities, and I've actually gone backwards here because I kind of scrolled through the activity and I wanted to show you what this looks like. And so I love how these activities build that higher order thinking. And I wanted to show you kind of the last level of it here. So you see in this one, the students can analyze this map here. They're looking at the railroads across the country. And then down here below, there's a reading passage. And so we know from the STAR test in 8th grade that the students are tasked with having to look at maps or graphs as well as reading passages to really conclude, to come to a conclusion, to really take that higher order thinking into the next level here. So the students will do something very similar with this one. And so the students have to decide, how are the growth of railroads and the increased population of the West and population growth in Texas related? And so the students have to read the passage, they have to look at the map, and then they read through these options and decide which one works best for them. And then down here below, they actually have to do a verbal response where the students record their voice and give the response to the passage that is there. I'm just going to go backwards here through this activity a little bit and just show you some of the different examples. There's another example with a reading passage and a different level of questions. Sometimes they may be multiple select, they may be true and false, they may be single select or multiple choice types of answers, as well as that true and false or written. This one here, they're comparing a map and a graphic. We know that students are asked to do that on the STAR test, where they're having to look at different visual sources and make conclusions about those visual sources. And this one here, the students are analyzing this right here, looking at the change in farmland from 1860 to 1890. And you'll notice I'm in student mode, so it's asking me if I want to continue because I'm not filling in the answers as I go. In this one, the students drag and drop their answers into this response here where they're looking at the cattle trails and they're looking at the different years that those cattle trails were in play. This one here, they're looking at the Transcontinental Railroad and also looking at the routes that came through Texas during those different years. And that one's in 1893. This one here, from the very first one, starts off with looking at those cattle trails and where they were shipping to the different areas. So we've looked at two different types of activities in Active Classroom. We looked at a decision making and this interactive mapping activity. Now let's take a look at the reading passages. So 100% of your TEKS are going to be addressed, and for each unit and each section, you are going to have reading passages that focus on the big ideas. So what were the big ideas in the cotton boom and bust? And it asks the students to concentrate on these questions or these thoughts. Describe two events that led to the cotton boom, which inventions helped farmers adapt to growing cotton in West Texas, and what led to the cotton bust in Texas. And so the students will have these straightforward readings right here that are right to the point. There are some great activities, a vocabulary organizer and a study guide that go along with that. I've actually opened up a study guide right here. So yes, this is a digital program, but the students can work on and offline. If your students are at home, they simply click on this link here and they can print off this and they create a foldable. If they're in the classroom, you can have these already made for them and hand them out. Let's say your students struggle with reading. There are some great tools that are built into Active Classroom, such as the text-to-speech function, so you can highlight text that you want read, and it will start reading to them right away. You also have the ability to translate. Let's say you have a student that's a newcomer. Maybe their native language is Spanish. It defaults to Spanish and it'll actually read to them in Spanish as well. And I like it because it highlights the word as it's being read. But you're not limited to just Spanish. There are thousands of different, I'm sorry, not thousands, there are 30 different languages that are available to you here in Active Classroom, from Arabic, Chinese, Bengali, Serbian, Thai, even Vietnamese, Burmese, Urdu, just a lot of different languages that the students can interact with, which is also a great tool if the kids are working at home. Maybe their parents are not native English speakers, so maybe they want to look at the language, look at what it says in their native language so that they can help their students with their work as they're going through. So you see all of those readings are there in place with different chapter quizzes that go along with those as well. So you still have access to that. That kind of textbook, that guiding text. On top of that, Active Classroom does come with all of these different atlases. You can select if you want the Texas history one, it will come with the Texas History Atlas. But this is not your only option here. And so I'm going to jump over now to a different program. Let's say you just wanted to get those Texas History Atlases for your classroom. Right here on the website, you have on our socialstudies.com, you can order these atlases here. Obviously, if you reach out to myself or Summer Carter, your other Texas rep, she handles the kind of the western side from Fort Worth west, and I handle the more eastern side of Texas, from Dallas down south to Houston and sweeping down in the valley. So you can reach out to us, and we'd be more than happy to help you with these things here, but you can order the atlases just on their own. We also have an atlas pack that comes with this program right here, which is called Nystrom World. You have access when you purchase the Texas History Atlas pack. You will get a set of 30 atlases, a teacher's guide. So with downloadable, these are the downloadable activities right here. You have the Atlas flipbook right here, so the kids can flip through these pages. Again, if you buy Active Classroom, you get this as well. But if you don't want the full Active Classroom, you can buy something as simple as the Texas History Atlas pack, and you've got things like celebrating Freedom Week, then going into the geographic diversity in the regions of Texas, all the way through. If I jump up here, I'm just going to jump to page 56. Let's take a look at what we have here. So we're looking at growth and expansion of cattle and the cotton industry right here, looking at some of the physical landscape, some of the conflicts with the Native Americans, and then you have some great biographies that are built into the atlas itself as well, going on to the Galveston hurricane. So these atlases, you would get a set of 30, you would get access to this digital piece right here with this digital atlas. Not only that, some of those great interactive mapping activities are also available here in Nystrom World. And so when you purchase the Atlas pack, your students would also have access to these activities. You'll notice it's the same general framework as what you saw in Active Classroom, where they have the different maps and different reading pieces. There's some graphics and things like that in here, and some of that interactivity that the students would be able to participate with. It does not include all of the readings or decision makings or anything like that. It's simply the Atlas pack that comes with these digital activities right here. And on top of that, you also have the teacher's guide, the binder that comes with those atlases. You have it available as a download as well. So all of these different activities here, when you open this up, each 2-page spread of the atlas comes with an activity, and you'll see here, just jumping ahead, I'm going to open up this one to take a look at this activity. And so this one here is looking at the geographic diversity, and so this is a worksheet here on looking at the different regions of Texas. So if you love the Nystrom atlases, if you've used the Nystrom atlases before, I think you're really going to love this new Texas atlas. It follows the same framework and format of our other great social studies atlases. So thank you guys so much for visiting with us today and stopping by our booth and checking out Texas history. If you want to reach out, our emails are jason@socialstudies.com or summer@socialstudies.com. You can reach out to us and we'd be happy to build a quote for you or get you access to a trial so you can explore this in a little more depth. Thank you again so much for joining us today.